He humiliated my son for 4 months of practice, so I humiliated him with projected text evidence. Watching chocolate fountain drench his white chef uniform. There are 2 types of silence I know intimately. The first is the tense, vacuum-like silence of a trauma bay in a combat support hospital. The moment after the helicopter lands and before the gurney rolls in, when you steady your hands and your heart for what comes next. The second is the sacred, anticipatory silence of a recital hall. The breath a room holds before the first perfect note rings out. I've lived my life between these 2 silences. I'm Sergeant Maya Ruiz, U.S. Army, retired. I served 2 tours as a combat medic, and now I teach 8-year-olds how to play Beethoven. My true calling, my greatest honor, is being mom to my son, Eli. This is a story about the wounds that don't bleed and the medicine that doesn't come in a bottle. If you believe in the healing power of standing up for what's right, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Revenge Stories. My sanctuary was the music room in our small Austin bungalow. The walls were adorned with my military shadow box and Eli's crayon drawings of musical notes. The air smelled of lemon polish, old sheet music, and the faint metallic scent of my old dog tags that Eli liked to wear when he practiced. It was here, amid the scales and arpeggios, that we rebuilt our lives after my divorce from Julian. Julian Ruiz was a force of nature, a man whose charm was as meticulously crafted as his signature dishes. He was a celebrity chef, a man who lived his life on camera for camera. Where I found truth in the stark reality of a triage unit or the emotional honesty of a minor chord, Julian found it in a Yelp review or a TV rating. Our divorce was the inevitable result of 2 people speaking different languages. I spoke the language of duty and heart. He spoke the language of branding and buzz. The pattern of injustice was a series of small, paper-cut slights that over time threatened to bleed Eli's spirit dry. Julian had moved on with Celeste, a sharp-edged socialite whose smile was as real as the plastic surgery that maintained it. She came with a daughter, Stella, a 9-year-old who had been groomed for the lens since birth. Where Eli was earnest and soulful, Stella was polished and performative. A memory as sharp as a scalpel. Eli was 6 and he'd learned to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. He was so proud, his small fingers finding the right keys after weeks of practice. We were at a family barbecue at Julian's new, obscenely large house. Eli sat at the grand piano in the sunken living room and played his piece. Julian, on the phone with his agent, barely looked up. But when Stella stood in the center of the room and recited a memorized, vapid poem about sunshine, Julian stopped his call, beamed, and recorded her. "That's my girl!" A natural performer. The lighting in here is perfect. Another flashback. From a parent-teacher conference, Eli's teacher was praising his empathy, his kindness to other children. Julian had shrugged. Empathy doesn't sell cookbooks. Stella now, she's got the face for cereal boxes. She's got the product. He'd said it right in front of Eli, who had shrunk into his chair. The third and most telling memory was the gradual erasure of our shared history. Julian began referring to his life with Celeste and Stella as his real family, as if Eli and I were a failed pilot episode. He'd take Stella to red carpet events, teaching her to work the room, while canceling his weekends with Eli for last-minute filming. "Stella just photographs better, Maya," Julian told me once, his tone not cruel, just clinical. "She's got the look, Eli's. He's a little quiet for TV. In my business, optics are everything." This was the pattern. A lifetime of valuing the frame over the painting, the filter over the face. Eli was a real sensitive, talented boy. Stella was an accessory. And Julian was the creative director of his own life. My sanctuary was protecting Eli's gentle musical soul. It was in our daily practice sessions, our talks about what the music made us feel, and the unshakable knowledge that in our home, a heartfelt performance was worth more than 1,000 staged photos. But the citywide recital at the Long Center was the one event Julian had promised on camera during a local news segment to attend. Eli had chosen Debussy's Clair de Lune. It was an ambitious piece for an 8-year-old, but he was determined. He'd practiced for 4 months, and I had a terrible feeling that its subtle, emotional depth would be lost on a man who only understood primary flavors and loud noises. The day of the recital was soft and gray, a perfect backdrop for the moonlit piece Eli was to play. Backstage at the Long Center, the air was thick with the scent of nervous children, hairspray, and the waxy smell of the piano keys. Eli was a portrait of quiet concentration. He looked so small in his tiny rented tuxedo, his sheet music for Clair de Lune clutched in his hands like a sacred text. He'd refused to put it in his folder. He said he wanted to hold the music close to his heart. "He'll be in the front row, right?" Eli asked. For what felt like the 100th time, his eyes wide with a hope that was already starting to fray at the edges. "He promised, mijo," I said, my voice tighter than I wanted. "He'll be here." My eyes were glued to the stage door. The recital began at 3 p.m. By 3:15, there was no sign of Julian. Eli's composed demeanor began to crack. At 3:20, my phone buzzed. A text from Julian. "Stuck at the studio. Food Network segment running long. Tell Eli I'll be there before his piece. Just saw Stella's run-through for the gala. She's a pro." I showed Eli the text. His shoulders slumped, but he nodded bravely. "It's okay, Mom. The Food Network is important." One by one, the children played. Some stumbled, some shone. The air was filled with simplified sonatas and hesitant etudes. Eli sat perfectly still, his gaze fixed on the empty seat in the third row he'd pointed out to me. He was number 17 on the program. We listened to 16 other children pour their hearts out. Finally, it was his turn. He walked to the grand piano, a small, serious figure under the bright stage lights. He placed his sheet music on the stand, took a deep breath, and began to play. And it was magic. His touch was delicate, his phrasing intuitive. He didn't just play the notes, he understood them. He painted a picture of moonlight on water, of quiet sorrow and gentle hope. The audience was utterly still, captivated. When the last note faded into silence, there was a moment of profound quiet before the applause erupted. He had done it. He took a small, formal bow, his eyes scanning the crowd, the empty seat. His face fell. The triumph in his eyes was instantly replaced by a devastation I couldn't kiss away. We waited on the recital hall steps for an hour afterward. Eli still in his full tux, the sheet music now wrinkled in his tight grip. The hope was gone, replaced by a quiet, crushing acceptance. Finally, at 5 p.m., my phone buzzed again. This wasn't an excuse. It was a surgical strike, taking Stella to the Children's Hospital Gala. She photographs better in a bow tie and won't play wrong notes. Eli's fine. I read the words and my combat training kicked in. The world narrowed to a tunnel. The threat assessment was clear. This was no longer about a missed recital. This was a direct attack on my son's soul, a dismissal of his beautiful, flawless performance as something containing wrong notes. This was the line in the sand. The shift was immediate and absolute. My maternal instinct to protect and comfort was instantly reprogrammed into a tactical need to retaliate. Julian lived and died by public adoration and corporate sponsorship. He had just declared that authenticity was worthless. I would prove him wrong in the heart of his own carefully constructed world. "Mijo?" Eli's voice was thin, brittle. "Was that him? Is he coming?" I knelt down on the cold concrete steps, putting my hands on his shoulders. I would not lie to him. "Not anymore, Eli," I said, my voice low and steady. "He's not coming." He made a choice. A coward's choice. I showed him the text. He read it, his breath catching. A single tear traced a clean path down his cheek, but he didn't sob. He just looked resigned. The hurt was there, but so was something else. A spark of anger. Then, as if to pour salt in the wound, a notification flashed on my phone. Julian had posted on Instagram. A picture of Stella in a miniature bow tie and dress, clapping mechanically with a few children in hospital beds. The caption, "My little philanthropist." Teaching these kids about hope. The lie was now circulating through his ecosystem. The narrative was set, but I had the truth standing right in front of me in a tiny tux. I looked at Eli, then back at my phone. A plan, precise and devastating, began to form in my mind. "Hey, buddy," I said, a slow, determined smile spreading across my face. "How would you like to play for a real audience?" "We're going to the gala." His eyes widened. "We are, but we're not invited." I tapped the wrinkled sheet of Clair de Lune in his hand. "I think we just received our invitation." The first person I called was Rosa Martinez. Rosa wasn't just a parent of one of my most promising students. She was the director of development for the Austin Children's Hospital. Her niece, Sophia, had started piano lessons with me to help with the anxiety after a long hospitalization. "Rosa, it's Maya Ruiz. I need to get into the gala tonight, and I need access to the main ballroom." "To the gala tonight, and I need access to the main ballroom." "Maya, Carino, it's black tie and it's sold out. What's going on?" I told her everything. The 4 months of practice, the recital, the text, the Instagram post. I heard her sharp, indrawn breath over the phone. Dios mío, she whispered. That man is a monster wrapped in a designer label. Give me 5 minutes, she called back in 3. Okay, our dessert caterer just had a family emergency. Your flan is legendary, Maya. Can you and your assistant be here in an hour to cover? I'll have vendor passes at the service entrance. And I'll make sure the AV technician knows you're a friend of mine. What do you need? I need to be able to display something on the donor recognition screen. And I need you to be ready to signal the board if I give you the nod. Consider it done. My next call was to a former Army buddy, Ben Doc Carter. Doc was now a physical therapist at the very same children's hospital. He'd met Eli, knew his story, and had a deep, abiding hatred for bullies. Doc, it's Ruiz. Julian just pulled a no-show at Eli's recital for a photo op at the hospital gala. We're crashing it. I need you to gather a mobile unit. Patients who are ambulatory, who might enjoy a little live music. Be in the main hallway near the ballroom at 8:30 p.m. He chuckled, a low, dark sound. Roger that, Sergeant. Assembling the troops. This'll be better than smoke break in Kandahar. I had my allies. Now I needed my evidence. The text message was the primary objective. I took a clear screenshot. Then I thought of the recital program, with Eli's name listed next to Clair de Lune. I took a picture of that too. It was documentation of the achievement he'd dismissed. The strategic awakening was about understanding the terrain. Julian's world was a fortress of perceived altruism, but its walls were paper thin. I would use his own event, his own stage, to demonstrate the difference between real compassion and a photo opportunity. I turned to Eli, who was watching me, a new light of curiosity in his eyes. Eli, what I'm about to ask you is the bravest thing you'll ever do. But you are the strongest person I know. Your father sent a message that was meant to make you feel small. I want to show everyone how powerful you are. I want you to come to that gala, and I want you to play Clair de Lune on the grand piano in the middle of the ballroom. Would you be willing to do that? He looked terrified. In front of all those rich people? What if I mess up? Then you play through it, I said gently. That's what real musicians do. We don't pretend. This isn't about making your dad look bad, mijo. This is about showing everyone what real grace looks like. This is about playing for the joy of it, for the healing of it. He was quiet, processing. He looked down at his sheet music, at the notes he had poured over for 4 months. He smoothed the wrinkles with his small hand. Then he looked up at me, and the spark of anger had become a steady, determined flame. Okay, Mom, he said, his voice clear. Let's go play. My heart swelled with a pride deeper than any military commendation. This was the foundation of our reckoning. Not my rage, but my son's courage. We drove to the Driscoll Hotel. Rosa was true to her word. Our passes were waiting. We were an incongruous sight. The former medic in catering blacks, and the 8-year-old in a concert tux, wheeling a cart laden with flan and a single, precious sheet of music. The gala was a jewel box of artifice. The air was thick with the smell of expensive perfume, seared scallops, and unspoken deals. I saw Julian immediately. He was holding court near the silent auction table, one hand on Stella's shoulder, the other gesturing with a champagne flute. Stella looked stiff and uncomfortable in her bow tie. Celeste stood beside them, a mannequin-perfect smile on her face. Then I saw Rosa. She caught my eye from across the ballroom and gave a slight, imperceptible nod. The path was clear. The AV tech, a young woman with a sympathetic smile, gave me a thumbs up from the control booth. The plan was locked and loaded. The strategic awakening was complete. We had moved from being dismissed as having wrong notes to being the main event. The confrontation wasn't going to be a private argument. It was going to be a public demonstration of the difference between noise and music. We were ready for the reckoning. Dessert service was beginning. The massive tiered cart of Ruiz flan was wheeled to the center of the ballroom, right next to the gleaming grand piano. As servers began to distribute the plates, Rosa Martinez took the podium. Thank you all for your incredible generosity tonight, she began. Before we hear from our keynote speaker, we have a very special, unscheduled musical treat. One of our own community members, a young man who just won the city recital, has offered to share his gift with us tonight. Please welcome Eli Ruiz. The spotlight swung away from the podium and landed directly on us. I guided Eli to the piano bench. The contrast was jarring. The opulent black tie crowd and the small, serious boy in a tuxedo, placing his worn sheet music on the stand. Julian, from his position near the stage, saw us. His face morphed from confusion to sheer, unadulterated panic. Celeste's hand flew to her mouth. Stella just stared, mesmerized by the piano. Eli took a deep breath, just like he had at the recital. He placed his fingers on the keys, and he began to play. The first delicate notes of Clair de Lune floated through the ballroom. The conversation, the clinking of glasses, it all died away. This wasn't background music. This was a spell. He played with even more feeling than he had at the recital, the notes pouring out like a balm. I saw hardened CEOs and socialites visibly soften, their masks slipping as the beautiful, melancholy music washed over them. When the final note faded, the room was utterly silent for a long moment, then erupted into genuine, thunderous applause. This wasn't polite clapping. This was a visceral reaction to real beauty. I stepped forward and took the podium mic. "Thank you," I said, my voice echoing in the hushed room. That was Clair de Lune by Debussy. Eli practiced that piece for 4 months for the city recital today, but his father couldn't be there. He sent us a message explaining why. I nodded to the AV tech. The massive donor screen behind us, which had been displaying the hospital logo, switched to the screenshot of Julian's text, taking Stella to the Children's Hospital gala. She photographs better in a bow tie and won't play wrong notes. Eli's fine. The words projected in 10-foot-tall letters were a gut punch to the entire room. The applause died. A collective, horrified gasp was followed by a sickened silence. People looked from the screen to Julian, their faces a mixture of disgust and pity. In that perfect, suspended moment, a small figure broke away from Julian's side. It was Stella. She yanked on Celeste's sleeve, her voice, picked up by the podium mic, clear and desperate. "Mom, Eli's song made the sick kids smile." Mine was just clapping. It was the unvarnished, devastating truth from the mouth of the little philanthropist herself. The kill shot. The spotlight swung from us to Julian, who was sputtering, trying to form a denial. But Rosa was faster. She stepped to the podium and spoke quietly into the mic. The board has been made aware of a significant conflict of values. The vote is unanimous. Chef Ruiz's partnership with this hospital is terminated, effective immediately. That's when the chocolate fountain malfunction occurred. As a server was accidentally jostled by a busboy near the 4-foot-tall fountain of swirling molten chocolate, a great dark wave cascaded directly over Julian, drenching his pristine, white chef's jacket and trousers in a thick, sticky river. He roared, a sound of pure, impotent fury. Pandemonium. The hotel security, alerted by Rosa, moved in. They didn't touch him, but their presence was a wall. Your presence is no longer required. Sir. He was escorted out of the ballroom, dripping with chocolate, past a group of parents from my piano studio who had gotten word and come to watch, now rising to their feet to give Eli a standing ovation. And then, from the main doors, a sight that made my heart stop. Doc Carter appeared, leading a flash mob of a dozen tiny patients in pajamas and robes. They surrounded the piano, their faces alight with wonder, as Eli, tears of joy now streaming down his face, began to play the final chorus again. The children hummed along, their soft voices joining the piano in a symphony of pure, unadulterated hope. The aftermath was a tidal wave of positive change. The video of Eli's performance and Stella's confession dominated the local news. The image of the chocolate-drenched Julian being escorted out became an instant meme, a symbol of hollow celebrity being washed away. His restaurant reviews plummeted. The Food Network, citing a misalignment with family-friendly values, canceled his show. His brand was toxic. Celeste, whose social standing was built on Julian's fame, left him within the week. It turned out her tolerance for scandal had a very low threshold. Stella, freed from the pressure of being a perpetual prop, started taking piano lessons from me. She'd show up in jeans, and Eli would patiently show her the scales. They're not siblings, but there's a genuine friendship there, built on the truth that finally set them both free. Eli's recital didn't end that day. It transformed. At Rosa's invitation, it became an annual event at the Austin Children's Hospital, a concert for the patients and their families. He plays every year. For the patients and their families. He plays every year, and when he walks out to the piano, he isn't wearing a new tux. He wears the same one from the day of the reckoning, now let out at the seams. Pinned to the lapel is a small but incredibly significant token, my old Army Purple Heart. I gave it to him after the gala. For bravery under fire, I told him. He wears it every time he plays. The thematic conclusion of my story is this. True strength isn't about being loud or photogenic. It's about the quiet courage to be authentic in a world that rewards fakery. There will always be those who mistake the gesture for the gift and the appearance for the substance. They will call you a background character in their own story. But protecting a tender heart is not an act of weakness. It is the highest form of valor. And when you are forced to defend it, don't fight with their weapons of perception and spin. Play your song. Let the pure, undeniable beauty of the truth be the only spotlight you need. Your integrity is your highest honor. If you believe in defending the quiet, beautiful truths that make life worth living, then let this story be your battle cry. Amplify the real. If this journey from a silent recital hall to a roaring hospital gala resonated with you, help us share these stories of courage. Like, share and subscribe to the Revenge Stories.